Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Alisha here at Cosmic Gateway. This is going to be the February 2026 energy update and intuitive insight guidance. So, welcome and thank you so much for being here. There's a lot to unpack. There's so much going on. There's so much that I want to share. So, please feel free to pause if you need to right now. Um, Go grab your favorite tea or coffee or whatever your beverage of choice is. Get comfortable, get relaxed on the couch, whatever you whatever you need right now. It's going to be, I feel it's going to be a bit of a long one. So I'm going to try and do some timestamps, not just for the intuitive insight guidance, but maybe around the themes that I'll be breaking down. So when I talk about the energies of this, I get the sense that this is February and beyond. Um, all the things that I want to cover and talk about are not just entering into a new year, not just entering into a Chinese New Year. We are entering into an entire new frequency bandwidth of reality that is a slow drip feed through. This has been ongoing. You probably heard me talk about it many times, but I want to talk about more of the intricacies and the components that I'm witnessing, whether that's through via my dream space, from my personal experience, or via through client sessions and conversations that I've been having. Everything that I share is based off real-time data and information and lived experience. So without further ado, let's get started and let's kick off. So I want to start off with two things and then we'll go into, I did write a stack of notes. So I've had two dreams in the lead up to making this video, and that often occurs when I know that I'm going to be making a new month's video. And I'm not going to describe it so much in the details because the details, I think, of the description of what the dream is representing could be misinterpreted, but it's more about the energetic essence of what it was that I was witnessing. And this was not anything to be fearful. This is purely showing what I believe is happening via our dream space. So you may have noticed that things have felt heavy at times, exhausting, very, very busy in the energetic field. So when you're about to drop off to sleep or you're going through your day and you need like that 20-minute or sometimes longer, nap in the afternoon, if you have the capacity to do so and lie down, you'll notice that it's not just about resting the body, even though, yes, our bodies do need that rest and recalibration at the time, at this time, but it's part of our consciousness that's moving in and out of dimensional spaces because we're actually very, very busy beyond just this human experience right now. What I believe is happening when we go into our more multi-dimensional space that we experience more of when we're in our dream space, but this is also operating in our day-to-day, like while we're in our awakened states too. That's why sometimes we can feel things that are out of context of what we're experiencing in our physical reality. That's why we can have outbursts of emotion that seem to seemingly come out of nowhere. And it's like, why all of a sudden am I feeling intense rage or intense grief? Like my brain can't actually make sense of it. That's often what is happening as like what I call bleed through from energetic other timelines. We're in a big phase right now where there is so much of our consciousness that has been operating in other timelines that is trying to hone back into our those energy threads, and the consciousness is trying to hone back into our now moment, into this physical reality, because this is where the party's really going to get started. So there can be, and I did that video about the energetic overwhelm. Often when there's a lot of influx of energies, not just cosmic energies, but influx of energy coming into our system, it can be like block pipes because there's a lot of our own energy trying to hone back and come back into our field. And it can pull in some of the experiences that that other aspect has been privy to or witness to, which could be traumatic. It could be, a death or a battle or some sort of, let's face it, a lot of us don't always have 100% recall or, even a lot of recall in our dream space, because the honest truth is we probably don't need to know where we've been and what we've been doing. A lot of it's quite, take it from someone who has a lot of recall. Sometimes I really wish that I didn't, because it's not fun, it's not nice, it's really quite disturbing at times, but at least it gives context as to why I make, why and when I say that, us wake up feeling really off kilter some days, or we wake up from an afternoon nap, or we've just lied down for 20 minutes and it's like we know we're traveling, we're moving. This isn't just a concept of multidimensionality. We're incorporating that, we're actioning that, we're living that in real time, and that's going to only become more and more as we progress through this year and the years to come, is understanding how our multidimensionality is not just some sort of spiritual woo-woo concept. It is literally getting to know all the different parts of us that are operating simultaneously. So I make it sound really bad, but there is actually, there's upsides to that. There's, the flip side is that there are parts of it that are doing really cool things, that have amazing skill sets that, we haven't practiced in this lifetime, that we can tap into and we can work with, and we can, spontaneously then become a genius at, a musical instrument, for example, or, some sort of artistic skill. We can tap into that too. So what I'm observing and witnessing, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but what I'm observing and witnessing is that there is a lot of energetic rehoning. I mentioned that. But in the dream space, it almost feels as though it's split 50-50 of, there is parts of us that we would consider in linear time future versions of us, that is literally constructing and preparing and laying down the foundations for the way of what we're walking into in this new reality, this new frequency. Then there is also the part of us that's still part of the cleanup crew, that's kind of getting down and dirty, and whether it's tunnels or gross dimensional pockets that need light shone on it and purification, as that happens within us, and that reminder that, coming back to, it's not just an individual process that we agreed to come here for. We're moving through a collective process that is about getting an entire group, let's say, into a whole different reality. And I sometimes make jokes with my clients of like, yeah, like when we get to those breakthrough moments of like, oh yeah, people are finally getting it, all right, good, come on, hurry up. We've got a planet to ascend, like get with the program, get on the mission, in whatever that looks like for you. But I joke about it, but it's true. And that is a frustration that I've had to work through over the years, because it's like, and I think what it comes down to is it's a frustration that when you have the ability to see people's highest expression and potential, and you can see that I'm sure many of you can relate to this, when you have the ability to see the higher self, the higher potential, the soul blueprint or essence of an individual and what their potential is or what they're here to do, and you just instinctively know that because you're connected, and then you see them go through, the opposite of what that is, and embody the opposite of whatever that is. And they get caught up in the programs and the matrix and, all the entanglements that we can while we're down here. It's kind of heartbreaking. It brings up a lot of grief. And I think a lot of that grief has been perpetuated because we've had times throughout various civilizations where there's been a lot of hijacking, and to watch someone that you love fall from grace and get controlled by an energy that's other than who they truly are is like probably the most I'm speaking for myself here, but maybe I'm putting language around other people is really quite devastating. So sorry, I digress. So we are unsticking from all of that right now in real time, not just individually, but en masse. So dream space is portion 50-50 of clearing and building. And what I want to share is because I've had, and it may not be 50-50 in one night, it might be you might have 5 days, 5 days or whatnot. I certainly in the last week of January, I probably had an entire week of just really horrific energy coming out of dream space, which was sort of bleeding through. And I was very, very aware that, and I'll talk about the last week of January because I think that's important to bring up and to be wary of to as we negate moving through February as well. But it's there's this okay, sorry. I'm gonna go back to the two dreams that I had that once I popped out of the murkiness, the building aspect. One dream I had was of a new dimensional space that had occurred on the planet. Now, I may have spoken about this before, but I do believe, and I've seen this many times over the years, that there are new earth pockets of reality that literally sort of start to open up. And we can already start to experience it and probably have for a number of years. They're in geographical locations where the energy feels pristine, often more found in nature, whether that's in the forest, deep in the forest. They're portals for new earth pushing through. They're the natural, they're the organic. They can shut down it. They may not be permanently there, but I feel like that's part of what's pushing through right now as we have the influxes coming in. It's like creating a pressure cooker squeeze at times, which is important to acknowledge. So in this dream, I literally was in a space where there had been on the planet, which is not, not where I live, but it is a place that I've visited that's had extreme conflict, extreme for a long time. And so I don't want to say the place because I think this can be used as a metaphor, not a metaphor, but it can be transferred to not just this place, but many different spaces and places along the planet that have been, I hate to use the word pillage, but that's, actual fact. Where there's been war, where there's been conflict, where there's been, mass disturbances on the earth, for whatever reason. It had been overrun and neutralized by a higher frequency, almost like it had been blank slated. There was no longer conflict. There was no longer damage. There was new life being given, new infrastructure being implemented. It looked a little bit futuristic, but it had a sheen to it, almost like a new reality overlay. There was a redistribution of, let's say, material possessions like resources that are necessary, shelter, home, transportation, food, essentials, things like that. And I literally heard the word, we are repopulating these places. And I went in as one of the overseers to make sure that everything was distributed equally. The people that I was interacting with had a different luminosity to them. They were human, probably humans who've gone through a big transformation. They had more of light in their eyes. They weren't traumatized by perhaps what had been previous in that location or what had taken place. They were being returned the rightful custodians of the land that they, was theirs to be the, the caretakers of. No one, we don't own anything when it comes to land, right? That seems also outdated, but it had this, and I just remember looking at the people who were just getting, reset up in this new infrastructure that was based on equality and integrity and abundance for all. Now, I've never, ever, 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 in all my dreams, have I ever had a dream quite like that one. The essence of the energy and the frequency was, I was familiar in energy, but the actual way it was shown to me was, it woke me up, and it stayed with me for days. It was quite profound. So the follow on that I've had from that, the following evening, which was last night, um, it was almost like I had gone, that was sort of like an outcome of like after the grand finale of some sort of shift that had taken place. I was back in witnessing people that I know, family members, friends, loved ones, not people that I'm very, very close to, but people that, when I say that, not people that I speak to on a regular basis, but I, close with on a soul level. And I was literally being the observer of watching them change, morph in from one state of being, resonance, energy, vibration, whatever you want to call it, one state of being into another. So they were transforming from this old paradigm reality that we're moving out of into the new one. And I think if you remember going back into the January video, I was talking about the dream that I had literally in the beginning of January, of like the pixelation of the body and the morphing and the transition. That was happening within me in that dream, but now I'm witnessing it happen in others. So it's really quite profound what is taking place. And I say this with such enthusiasm and excitement, but also I want to lay out the reality that that was just like in the last 2 days. Like the whole week or 10 days before that was just a total erratic, chaotic mess. So I'm going to break down that from my own interpretation. So that's sort of part of setting the tone for this. Now, the energy, the artwork, or the vibration, the tone, the color that I've been witnessing coming in for February has been iridescent. I think that's the tone for the entire year, but various shades of iridescent, because that's how I see the new reality overlay. It's got that pristine, shiny, kind of glimmery essence to it. A bit like when you look into someone's eyes and their soul, you can see their soul essence. It's like everything has that sheen to it, even skin. And yeah, I'm hearing, and the bodies are morphing with that too. But it's been this kind of more of a silvery blue in my meditations for the last 4 or 5 days when I've been guided to go and lay and do my own process. It's almost like a beam, and there's been multiple waves and beams of this cosmic influence that is changing the biology is what I'm hearing. It's like that blue that we've been having doses of for a couple of years now. I've always called it the blue of miracles and body transformation, but this has a silvery metallic to it that has a bit more solidified substance. And when I tune into that frequency, because I don't think I've seen it in that way before, it also has an air of stability, solidity, like being very solid in the new geometries that are opening up within us and coming online. And it's creating an energy that is impenetrable to the frequencies that we have been imposed upon us, especially over the last handful of years. The darker energies that are really like very much interference energies, but the energies that can completely throw you off your game. And I will talk to that in a little bit, elaborate a little bit more about that because it doesn't have the power or the punch that it used to, which is very exciting and very telling of where we're at. Now, the artwork that I have created is all about the new geometry structure that's coming into people's soul blueprints that are coming online. They're very individual, and that's the work that I've been doing with the soul alignment sessions. I am loving what is coming through. It is so fascinating. It's so interesting to me. It's so exciting to see and to witness what people are experiencing through these sessions because each person has a very unique, just like we have unique fingerprints, unique DNA, we also have a unique geometry that represents our soul blueprint. When that lands or activates within our body and it's solid and it's you're working with it in physicality, that's where we're literally shifting and changing realities. And we start to experience the pockets of the new frequency bandwidth that is emerging quite rapidly and will continue to do so until it becomes the new normal. So you'll probably see in these artworks when I share them later, they all have this geometry that sits under the, I've talked about it before, moving out of the harmonic of 369 and moving into 4812. I think part of that is that it's, or at least what I've understood, and I've done videos about this, or at least I've taught it in my cosmic rebirth training, is we're moving into impenetrable geometries, both individually and in counterpart relationships that are in harmonic out of what we have experienced in looping, distortion patterns, interference energies, looshing life force, all those things that we've all had to come up against, but it's losing its power, it's losing its grip, and we're gaining strength and momentum. And this year, I believe, is really about focusing on who am I? What am I here to do? What is my soul path? How can I implement this, even if it's like in very subtle ways and simple ways, being focused on that and less of the loud distortion, chaotic craziness that can be created in the world stage, that can be created in our local communities, that can happen in our household. It's not about bypassing. It's not about giving your energy and power away to things that don't necessarily matter, that take you away from your strength, your power, and what you're here to do. And the more we can keep redirecting and bringing focus back into that, the quicker we individually get to being in a permanent baseline of that frequency. But the ripple effect that it has is huge. It really is powerful. So, where are we? I feel like I've gone on. So first of all, I was going to say this in the beginning and I totally forgot. Just to touch on what's coming up in February. So I'm still offering the Soul Alignment 2026 and beyond activation and alignment sessions. They are phenomenal. So if you want to get in contact, book one of those sessions. It really is designed to be the gift that keeps on giving, to set the new, exactly what I've just been talking about, set the new frequency trajectory so that you can keep working on moving and integrating into that new version of self. On Saturday, the 7th of February at 7 p.m., I will be holding a Skywatch meetup. All the details will be in the description. This one will be beachside. Ocean is really calling for me at the moment, and I found a little gem place, which I've had for a couple of years, but I felt the real strong call So if you are in Melbourne and you want to connect and you want to meet up and you want to watch the sky for stars, for spaceship, to be with like-minded community, please come along. It starts at 7 p.m. till about 10:30. All the details will be in the description box below. Secondly, the inspiration for this artwork and what has been coming through is I will be holding a soul activation online on Zoom on Tuesday, the 17th of February at 7 p.m. Melbourne, Australian Eastern Standard Time. It will be available for replay. So if it doesn't sit with your schedule or your time zone, you can access the replay. So interestingly enough, so the theme for this one is going to be ignite clarity and creativity. And funnily enough, when I was going back through, I've been recently guided to go back through, let's see if we can, been recently guided to go back to some of my old journalings from a couple of years ago when I was having that very elevated New Earth reality experience. I'm noticing now that a lot of the things that I experienced in that timeline, which I now understand is like a future version of me that gave me a glimpse into what we were walking into. So it's kind of exciting for me to watch it play out now in real time. But from one of my journal entries, I was working a lot with the new geometry that I've been talking about within myself, and I was witnessing it coming through, birthing through the universe, me incorporating, going through the soul merge process and activating this geometry. I did a soul entry. I did a journal and a soul entry, a journal entry on the 17th of February. And that was the date that was given to me to hold this soul activation, which is going to be a similar principle. And I was like, oh my God, okay. It's like reality is catching up. And then of course I always do this, and I never kind of know what's happening astrologically unless I go and look. And when I get little dates of like hold an event on this date, I then find out later that it's on some sort of significant date, and it falls on Chinese New Year. So the year of the fire horse, which I feel I have been having tasting the essence of this year that's coming up based on what I feel with the fire horse. It's really fiery energy. It's really passionate. It's really motivating. It's really like freedom, unbridled, like full steam ahead. So it's like not only is the energetics that's coming through really, really powerful, that we're getting to this point of this transition out of the old into the new. But I feel that even if we look at some things like, mainstream Western astrology or Vedic astrology or Chinese New Year, there is themes that are quite fitting with what the energies feel like. So for those of us that tap into feeling it, it can be, there's a transferable, not always, but you can see it there. So the fire horse, of course, feels so rich and powerful with creative expression. And I think I've been having dreams for the past 2 years where I've been seeing this like really rich burnt orange gold energy, and that's sort of how I see it with the fire horse, like coming in to drive passion projects, the new version of us and relationships moving forward. So I really think that also being in the 1 year, like there's so much energy and support for this new octave of reality that's moving through. It's so exciting. Okay. So I think I've covered all that. Actually, I did get one dream message that I woke up and I scribed down, and then I had a giggle, and I was like, oh, I love the way that um my higher self communicates. Okay. Okay. This was the three-step instruction of how to move out of the old the old world, let's just call it the old world, the old frequency, into the new harmonic reality. Um, break old attachments to the old world. You can still have connections, but break the unhealthy attachments. So that was the first step, was like, if you're in a situation that is not healthy for you, that is not life-giving and soul-giving, it's time for a breakup. um, and it might be just changing the way you do things or changing the way you relate to things. It may not be drastic, although I do feel this year is calling for just drastic changes and moves and bold steps on our behalf. But that's really down to the individual. So yeah, that was the first step. Break it. Well, here we go. Break old attachments, and it goes back to this analogy that this reader, a palm reader, told me once when I was going through a transition, was like, the difference between attachment and connection is like, if you're locked in hands like that and you pull it apart, it's going to hurt. But if you have a connection and then it pulls apart, it doesn't hurt. So we can still have connection to people, places, things, but unhealthy attachments is what's when the universe shakes us, not to break us, but to move us towards our destiny and where we're being called to on a soul level. The stronger the attachment that we have, the more it's going to hurt, right? And there's a lot of repositioning that is already taking place and will continue to do so. I think we're already approaching an eclipse season, and stereotypically for me, and probably for many of you, eclipse seasons tend to like bring through changes that on the, when you get through the flip side of it, are really beneficial to reposition you where you're going in your path and journey and break you out of stagnation. But sometimes they can come through quite painful or unexpected or quite drama filled, depending on. So anyway, second step is clear out all the old energy cords. So you may have even broken up with the old attachments. You may have left a job, a partnership, a habit, a whatever it is. But if you're not doing the energetic recoding within you, you can still fall or get pulled back into those old patterns and paradigms. So it's like making sure you're clearing out the cords, the energy, removing the matrix cords, the implants, all those things is a part of the work that I do. So important, because once you clear and remove some of these, whether they're implants, mind virus implants, matrix cords, cords to old timelines, people, places, things, if you clear and disconnect them and or infuse them, sometimes it's not about cutting them and being abrupt. Maybe it's just infusing them with new frequency so that you can reconnect at a higher plane of existence. It allows you to make the physical changes and adjustments in your life that much easier because the energy's cleared, the channel's clear. So you can make new changes and steps. And that's part of breaking out of the matrix cycle, is unpredictability, doing things differently. And I'm going to get into that later. Now, step 3 is to embrace your soul. We're so specific. To embrace your soul authenticity, follow your passion and your purpose. I mean, sounds easy to do, right? Sounds easy to do. Sometimes it's not. If you're going through harsh initiations, if you're going through deep purification of old things in your life. But what has been buffering, because, while I'm preparing to record these videos, often I have a lot of information that comes flying through that feels, makes sense in my mind, but I feel like sometimes I jump around. I'm just going to allow it to flow. This year is really about breaking out of the loop that can be so easy to get into for all of us who've had hard paths and journeys, of breaking the loop of constantly trying to fix, heal, and And it doesn't mean do to not to better yourself every day. That's not what I'm saying by any means. It's like not constantly looking for things to fix or heal. It's like reorchestrating your focus and attention to what am I here to do? What brings me the greatest joy? How can I be of best service to myself and the world at large, or my community, or my family, or whatever that looks like to you? And finding one anchor point or a project, a creative passion, a place that you go, and always reorient your focus to that thing. And it might be re-sparking a vision that you've had from long ago. Whatever it is, because I guarantee, and the second part of that is I guarantee you that as you start to walk into the best version of you that is here to do that, whatever hasn't been cleared will show itself. It'll come up. But it's like not going searching and looking for things. It's like focusing on what you want to create, the new version of yourself, being the best that you can. And through the process of focusing on, I've mentioned a few times, keeping the eye on the prize. What am I walking into? Things will come up to refine you, to not shatter your world, but it will come up to highlight that, yeah, oh, okay, I still have an issue around being seen. Okay, I still have an issue around whatever it is. And then that way you can work with it in a more organic way. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I was told very specifically, and maybe a few people, I don't know, but it was like, this is the year that we focus on our creation, our life force energy, and what brings us soul and life, like what gives us soul and life-giving frequencies, and that's in all areas of our life, our work, our profession, our passions, our, other vocations, our relationships, our friendships, really focusing on creating that and cultivating that. So, all right, get back to it. Okay, I'll talk about three other points, and then we'll go into the cards. Yeah, okay. All right. So, especially in the last week of January, and this I've noticed for as long as I can remember, I would say at least since 2020. I can't think beyond that. But there's been such a surge of influx of light, potentiality, new reality, experiencing and witnessing it, having visions, being very connected, a clear channel, and then we lose our footing because there's what seems to be out an energy that comes in to squash it. I like to use the word interference energy, but it can come through people. It can come through circumstances. It's a disruptive energy. And I don't think it's always playing off in our highest good, although we do become stronger from it. So if that makes sense, I do believe that it's part of the distortion and inverted that we've had to deal with. And I think we've been in these time cycle loops, and it tends to be around the very end of January through parts of February where that really high frequency of like charging forward drops away because of something. It's like the only way I can describe is losing our footing. I have been, for whatever this is worth, I have been shown and told by my higher self in no uncertain circumstances that is not taking place because we're moving into the new cycle. Doesn't mean that we won't have tastes of it, but like the ongoing fall into a dark night for months on end and then, scramble out, which has been part of my experience. It's been part of many people's experience, I know. So it's to be very mindful of this passageway that we're walking through right now, because we had the first dose of it in the last week of January. And it wasn't just my experience, it was a lot of people went through it in their own way. And what it does is it's like when everything's starting to align and come into place and you're really forward focused, something out of the blue just comes in. And sometimes, like I've clocked it. I tend to clock it either 24 or 12 hours. I was like, oh, I can feel something coming in here. And I had one of these experiences, and I will talk about it. I was in that real state of alignment and flow, and I could feel that highest expression coming in. And then I was writing a letter, was doing some journaling, and I felt it start to niggle. And I went, oh, I know that's pure interference energy. It's coming through. And I went, no, don't give it attention. And anyway, within, I think it was less than 12, I think it was about 6 hours. Through various circumstances, I had gone from this place to this place. It had thrown me completely. And generally it comes through someone who I call, it comes through someone who I deem is the weakest link. It comes through someone who carries a lot of trauma or a lot of programming. They tend to be conduits for that energy, and it's not necessarily them, although, we're not excusing people with bad behavior, but it's like all of a sudden they come in with a comment, a statement, something that impacts you, change, whatever it is. This can come through a spouse. This can come through a friend, a former lover. It can come through a parent. It can come through a sibling. It can come through a neighbor. Like the list goes on and on. And generally, I joke about how people who don't have an airtight energy field can be the weakest link in moments that will throw or come at you with different energies to try and like wobble you or put you off your trajectory. People become, and it could be a complete stranger too, you could be just out and about and all of a sudden it's like people become agent smiths, right? We all know, we've all experienced it. We have all experienced it. So it's like the message one of the messages for February was like really pay attention to that energy and not to give it, because really it's a looshing or it's a harvesting energy. I'm going to call it for what it is. It's when we hit that really good vibration and it comes in and it literally takes that from us. It sucks out that good, juicy life force, creative flow. I definitely think, there is, we are watched, we are monitored. If we're holding frequency, people can literally become like spyware around us. And we've just got to rise above the occasion and not give it the attention to allow us to throw us off course. And through each incident that may try coming at us, just to utilize that to refocus, redirect our attention, to grow us in our strength, to utilize, okay, well, that actually triggered me. Is there something deeper within me that's rattling, that wants to be expressed, that wants a voice, that wants to be heard, that wants to be released? It doesn't want to hang around. Not where I'm going, not where you're going. So being very conscious with these things rather than getting in the blame and the finger pointing and that looping energy, that because it becomes really sticky and it becomes very hard to unstick yourself from. So it's about giving yourself the space and grace to pull your energy back from the circumstance and the situation, the person, whatever, and just go, what is coming up inside me? Is this mine? Okay, yes, no. Um, is there a part of me that's like wanting to be released, that wants to an expression? How can I alchemize and transmute this? What can I do in self-care? And then, okay, now I'm going to use this just to rebuild my momentum and my focus and my fierceness of, taking this and allowing me to move forward in. And if we can go through the motions of that, we can actually negate being in the frequency of the interference, the psychic attacks and all those sorts of things. We're actually moving out with these new geometries that are coming in and the dismantling of the old energetic infrastructure that has been part of the old paradigm, the old world, the 3D matrix that we've had embedded in our bodies, that is disintegrating and crumbling to allow the new mainframe to come online, essentially, is what I'm witnessing through the individual experience. These mainframes don't allow those energies to penetrate or even, they may come in, but they just don't have the stickiness that they did prior. And it's like noticing and watching, allowing people to move through these phases with much more grace and ease than, let's say, for example, if one of those experiences had taken place, I think I moved through it within two to 3 days. And what was coming up for me was something really deeply seated that was quite ancient of destruction and chaotic experiences and expressions that had taken down like a whole mission or life's work. I'm not explaining that very well, but it's like what it brought up in me was something that was very deep seated that I worked at and chipped away at, but it was just like an energy echo or imprint that just wanted to be dissolved. Once I had done that, I was able to go, okay, pep talk, let's go, let's move forward. And so I just wanted to share that because I know that a lot of people are facing those interference energies and those challenges, and we are much more stronger and empowered than that and much more well equipped to move through them much quicker than, say a couple of years ago, we could have been spinning around in that for like weeks or months even. And now it's just a couple of days and then away we go again. So, so the final two things I want to talk about is in the unraveling of the old infrastructure, energetically speaking. So imagine like a infrastructure mainframe that is set in one specific reality tone, like a gridded system that is the makeup of your physical reality, your body, your consciousness that comes through and operates through you. That is what is dissolving. And what has been shown to me through multiple sessions is that part of this mainframe is actually built in a slight misalignment to the internal energy column or channel. So if you look at a column that goes straight through the middle, that would represent an equilibrium or balance between your, right and left side, your masculine, your feminine. What has become more and more clear to me is these old infrastructures and mainframes that are dissolving are skewed slightly to one side in people. So It would be if more of their masculine side is being more utilized or plugged into matrix systems, or their feminine. Doesn't necessarily have to be that way, but what I'm seeing and what I'm removing and working with in sessions, which is kind of mind blowing, is the old mainframe that creates the perpetual looping, the programs, the mental programs, and the emotions. So it's connected to the emotional and mental body. But most interestingly, it is connected to our biology, our physical body, our nervous system. Probably no surprises there. Creating a synthetic nervous system that goes on overdrive that literally is being kind of farmed, if you will, for energy. It's used as an energetic source that is not always, but it's never but really that benevolent. But it's like where our energy, our creative life force energy is sort of being utilized or siphoned from, that depletes us. So this can happen through many, many ways, but what I'm seeing is there's a whole energetic mainframe that has been in operation since we sort of came into these bodies, these lifetimes. And the more we become conscious, the more we break free of these, like almost, if you will, invisible bars, like a invisible prison or prism of light that keeps us restricted and not being able to reach our full potential. And every time we try to, it's like we get so far and then we get, catapulted back. So it's the dissolving and dismantling of these that actually helps our bodies reharmonize to their natural rhythm, and it creates space and frequency for us to be readjusted and recalibrated within, and reharmonize so that we can incorporate the new geometries that are coming online within us, our soul frequency, our blueprint, and to access that and harmonize and work within the parameters of that. And that's where the shifts and changes take place. So not only is that happening for the individual, that's also happening in relationship. So you probably heard me talk about the new relationship template over many years. So imagine what I've just described, but imagine that in a shared body of energy of two people. So two people that then have a energy field that is a shared energetic space. So what is theirs becomes yours and vice versa. That's where sometimes when you're in those dynamics, it's very hard to work out where the energy is coming from. Is it mine? Am I taking on, or am I absorbing more? It's see it as a shared energetic space that is an agreed upon breaking of templates specifically around relationship dynamics and the inverted system that we've had around relationship dynamics in this paradigm that we're breaking out of and moving into a new. Now, I hadn't sat down really to go into the specifics of it, but ever since we moved into January, I keep seeing in front of my, like through my third eye, 2026 is the game changer year for conscious partnership, relationship, soul frequency, divine counter, whatever you want to call it, twin, whatever. Because of these templates that are being recalibrated, now I've had a handful of sessions in the last week or so that have shown me this. So I'm pretty excited about it. But I believe that what I'm seeing through sessions is a portion of what's happening. It's a micro of a macrocosm that I'm sure is happening in other, in all pockets, all around. So it's creating a new geometry that is the operation of the new relationship template that works with soul resonance and frequency and soul mission at the forefront. And it's not that the actual relationship itself is important, because it absolutely is. We learn through relationships. But a lot of these connections or frequency matches are actually here and have agreed upon to do very specific mission-based tasks together when their energies come in and they're not influenced by programs and traumas and wounds and external influences. When they harmonize, they actually power up and they activate a larger and brighter light than one could, and it amplifies and ripples through the collective field that creates paradigm shifts. So that's what it does on an energetic level. It literally, a lot of these relationships have literally created worlds and dimensions before. They are powerful souls, especially when they're in harmonization with one another. That's why relationships have been so messed with on this planet, especially ones that hold a similar frequency tone or resonance. That is all dropping away. Now, when I say that it's not going to happen in February, it's starting. I'm starting to see this new pattern. It's going to take a while to implement. When we see the energetics, it might take 3 months, it might take 6 months, it might take 12 months, it could take 2 years, depending on the individual. So, but it's happening. And it's showing up in tangible ways. It's not just happening in the energetics. I've had so many exchanges over the last week of people telling me the changes that are happening in their frequency match dynamics, in their divine counterpart relationships. The harmonization of working together in a collaboration effort, the harmonization of creating new harmony within a romantic connection. Now, some of these aren't, are designed to come together for purpose, for soul activation and mission, and to bring out or activate I want to say the soul blueprint, but it's more than that. It's the abilities that we get access to through one another, because they are the mirror, reflection, and the reminder that can, when the two come in and harmonize, that's where the greatest portion of the soul consciousness actually inhabits the body. When that happens, that is when we get access to future potentials, higher realities, multidimensionality, healing abilities. Our bodies literally respond to that frequency and go through rapid spontaneous healings. There's so many implications of these. That's why they've been kept apart. That's, strategically on a soul level, yes, there's a part of it. Then there's, the other external influences that is losing its grip and power as we speak, and has been for quite some time, but it's noticeable now. And so that's part of what I was teaching in the cosmic rebirth container. That is now available at your own pace. So I'll put the details of that in the description box below if that's something that is of interest to you. I also have Elevate 2 training where I go into much more depth around this topic and the energetics of dynamics. That is also what's peeking through for this year. So I know this has been a big, if you've stayed with the course with me through all this, thank you so much. Like, I know it's been a big sort of data dump of lots of different facets and aspects of the energies and what we're moving through, but it's quite broad spectrum, and it's quite like, it's big. It's really, really big. So if, you're getting caught up in the day to day, which we all do, in the fine detail, or you feel like you're stuck in a loop, like take a moment and like zoom out and look at the big picture and go, wow, there are so many components and things that are at play right now. I need to just give myself a little break, So anyway, I think that's all. I'm going to wrap that up for now. No, one last thing. So I kind of touched on this with the energetic overwhelm video, but there is an internal buildup of anger, rage, and frustration. This internal friction is what I've been calling. So whether that comes from your own internal stuff that's like rattling up because it wants to be seen or expressed, what is happening is we are unplugging from the matrix system. So in those episodes of intense mental anguish or emotional outburst, what is happening from a soul level is we're not only breaking free, because that's a powerful energy, right? That can, break free of something, but we're actually calling in more of our soul blueprint and the unraveling. So it's simultaneous, it's happening concurrently. And it's a big cleanup physically, emotionally, mentally. But I feel like we're moving in, just to summarize it all, I feel like we're in and moving more and more each day into a space where the energetics are conducive to what we're actually going through rather than opposing. And that may not feel like that every day because we do have blips. But overall, that is what I'm sensing and witnessing. So there we are. There we have it. That's my energy take on the updates and what is transpiring. So now we're going to go through into the intuitive insight guidance. So I hope you've already picked a card. If not, I just realized normally I prepare for this and I have all the cards. Interesting. Have all the cards out, set and ready, and I just realized I haven't done that. So bear with me. I'm going to show all the cards so you can go through and pick each one, whatever calls to you, whatever speaks to you. Have a little look at them. So there'll be so this one, if you've chosen this one here, artwork A. B, this one here. See how we've got the iridescence going here? I tried to capture like the energy essence of different templates and things that I've been seeing through my journeys. And then see this one here. So just doing the movement so you can catch the glitter and the shimmer and the beautiful iridescence that is happening here. I really enjoy doing these, so I hope you enjoy them. So let's get into A, shall we? I feel like, give me a second. Let's go into the energies of A. There's a musical overcurrent to this one. There's like a handful of like songs that are playing in the background. It's really interesting. Would be kind of like 70s, 80s, real kind of Soul Train vibes. Like that really soulful music genre. I'm also seeing a vision of that too, and I can't hear a specific song in the background, but it's just that energy. Not sure what that's about. I was just asking because it's also I'm seeing a red stop sign. But the first song that did come through was Stop in the Name of Love. So, reevaluation around love life dynamics or situation. Doesn't mean drastic breaks, but just a stock take perhaps on your values, where you're at, how you're changing, what your desire, influence, or input, or what you're seeking. What you're seeking in a relationship. Like what I'm getting is you're growing and evolving into a new version of yourself. Therefore, the important relationship or relationships in your life are going to have to go through a transformation as well. And that might be highlighted point for you throughout this month. Ooh, I'm liking the cards that are coming through. There's a lot of, oh, goodness, sorry. Don't mind me when I yawn. It's like a moving through of energy. It's almost like I've just tapped into your energy in real time, and I've like gone into the heart, the stomach area, that region. Feels like a clearing or emptying out. It's like a good spring clean in the solar plexus, the mental state. Interesting. It's so funny. I want to say, are there gremlins in your stomach? Are there energies or influences or programs, or is a parasite cleanse, or getting your gut microbiome rebalanced? Take it as it will, how it relates to you. But literally, what I was seeing was like energy attachments in the. It's funny. I almost want to say womb space, the stomach area. But if I say womb space, or sacral area, the relationship space, energetic space within the body, that's going through a recalibration and overhaul, and your sense of self and worth. So they feel like they go hand in hand. I feel also a very confused and chaotic energy, like there's a lot of mental fog. So I probably would recommend, but don't take my advice, just feel into it for yourself. I probably would recommend a good cleanse, like an actual physical cleanse, especially if there's like mental fog, like looking at things that you can do to clean up your eating habits or toxic behaviors, addictions. Addressing toxic people in your life, perhaps having hard conversations. Only because the Princess of Wands and the Lust card, I'll come back to the other ones, but that just flew out. So the Lust card and the Princess of Wands has flown out, just as I was saying, looking at addressing or cleaning up things in relation to relationships and how you're outgrowing a certain identity that perhaps you have been in, or played a persona or played a version of you that you're outgrowing, and you're becoming someone or something new. So it's an overhaul. So it's a clean out physically, it's a clean out emotionally, and it's a clean out spiritually or energetically. But yeah, when we look at the Lust card, that depicts, looking at old patterns or behaviors or people that just don't align or resonate with the soul frequency of the new version of you that's coming online. And so going in and just making those soul-based aligned decisions with sort of fiery passion, or I don't want to say rage. Obviously, there's a lot of fire there, but like determination, will, self-assurance, like laying down the line, but in a calm manner, but being firm. There's a ram there. There's real Aries influence here. I've got an infinity sign here. I'm just looking if there's any. There's like if I'm just looking at, the woman with the chalice on the lion. Even if we take off the Lust card and we're just looking at that, like there's a real protector energy there. You might be tapping into soul lineage or heritage of Lyran descent. It's like that version of you that's really coming through. We've also got the tiger there as well. I always associate felines, with Lyran frequency. So it might be a downpouring of that energetic code that's coming in, that's like kind of shaking or rattling your world of like, oh, I can't, just like this epiphany. It's like, I can't operate like that anymore. I have to start changing things up. So I'm going to come back to the cards that were Oh, okay. Yeah. If things are feeling confusing or chaotic, just know that there is a bigger trust, that there is a much bigger, benevolent, positive, divine orchestration, soul destiny that's playing out for you in the benefit. Because we have the Two of Pentacles, the Fortune, the Lovers, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Three of Cups. But there is a little bit of like a death and rebirth. So we have the death card and the star card. So there is a transformation that is, it feels like it's already in progress. I don't feel like this is new. This is not a new news flash for you. This has actually been in progress for a little bit, but it feels like it's coming to the crescendo or the solution part of it. So we have the Two of Pentacles. So, we've got the snake there and we've got the sun and moon. So there's the balancing out of the energies, the equilibrium, the masculine, the feminine within you, perhaps, or within a partnership. We have the triangles that face upward and downward. Interesting. So if you're looking at, there's so much symbology in this. If we downward pointing triangle, upward, masculine, feminine overlap, then you've got the Merkaba or the six-sided, six-pointed star. Um, that are, creates, or what we've learned to believe up until this point. I do believe that whole paradigm of that is shifting because the geometries that are coming through are different. But talking about what is commonly known throughout spiritual literature, literature, um, the activation of the light body. But this is also, Pentacles is also about your coin, your money, your abundance, your materialistic. So this could also be bringing about a balance of work-life balance, or work, new investment in a business, a project, an opportunity. Bear with me. I'm just looking up the card for the book, because there's a couple of symbols in there, astrological symbols in there that I'm not immediately cluing in. Actually, they could be planet symbols. I know we have the sun and the moon, but I feel like it could be Jupiter. I'll take this moment just to have a pause myself. I feel like I'm getting quite a lot coming through. Yeah, okay. The sun and the moon. Hang on, I'll hold it up. Yeah, Jupiter. There we go. And Capricorn. That's what I thought. I should just trust it. Got the Jupiter and Capricorn symbols there. So immediately what comes to me is, obviously Capricorn is a very grounding influence. Capricorn's great. Like, all the Capricorns I know are very successful business people. So it might be grounding and anchoring in business project, like solidification. I think that is part of it. And then obviously with the Jupiter energy, that's going to be an amplification of that. So it's like that's on your side. That's what's working in you. Oh, interesting. So the upright meaning is striking harmony with the elements of your life, restructuring, changing, making change to make conformity fit, closing the loops. Yeah. Summarizes stepping out of the loop, which is followed by the fortune card or the wheel of fortune card. So it's a change of direction. It's a change of cycle. It's starting a new cycle, closing a chapter of an old one, moving into a more prosperous direction. And once again, we've got the depiction of the sun in the center. So there's a lot of sun or solar or fiery energies, masculine in terms of like forward movement. We also have the lovers card. So there is aspects and elements around love connection. We've got, the infinity loop, the two people coming together. We've got the cosmic egg. We've got the lion. We have it's an eagle. And we've got the cherubs. We've got a couple of cherubs and their arrows. So there is definitely a shift or change in love, relationship, connection that will be, I imagine, quite unique for the individual. So it might be starting anew, it could be refreshing anew, resetting an existing relationship. But there's a real stable, grounded, and so we've got the Knight of Pentacles there. Oh, we've got the horse, the fire horse. But that to me feels like with all the change and shift and the direction of everything that's feels like it's just recalibrating for you. There is this grounding force within you or within your dynamic that's just anchoring it in so that you you can get into that frequency of the Three of Cups, of that celebration, that harmony, that balance, that joyfulness, welcoming in good news, whether that might be an engagement or an announcement of a pregnancy or a birth or something like that. There we have the symbol of Venus and the Cancerian symbol as well. But it's interesting. We've got the lotus flowers, the overflowing. So the abundance of life, the abundance of life force energies. Um, it feels like a real fertility card with that. And it could just be like, doesn't necessarily have to be a child, depending on your circumstance and situation. It could just be the birthing of a new frequency or harmonic within you. But I'm really drawn to the lotus flowers in them. I was actually out walking this morning to one of my favorite walking spots, and I saw a beautiful pink lotus flower that had just risen through the dirt. So it's like the celebration of life, the celebration of you coming through whatever you've gone through of late, of recent, that's giving you encouragement. Yeah. You may not be, it may be you may be laying down foundations or implementing change that will, unravel over, beyond February. But it's like celebrating you in the shifts and changes that you're moving through that maybe have even been forced upon you, to get you moving and changing. But it's like, well done. Well done. Okay, sorry. My own little internal snort joke. Um, so with the ET experiencer cards, I'm just going to pull a couple, but we have remember. Aspects of your contract are coming to light. This is a soul remembrance, all coming in, activating the third eye, the pineal gland, having visions, re-remembering your soul mission and contract. And it's like drip feeding coming in, and it's like, oh, I forgot, but now I remember. And then we also have Arcturus. So you've encountered beings from Arcturus. You maybe have an aspect of you on Arcturus. You may hold Arcturian frequency. You may be that healer or work with healing technologies. Really, really powerful. Obviously, it's an energy that I've always sort of resonated with. Met some really powerful counterparts that hold Arcturian frequency. And they, from my own experience and working with some of them, they are the ones that really have a strong soul mission together. Interesting. So we have child. Whew. Oh my God. Oh, for some reason I almost want to play. We have childhood contact. So you've been visited since childhood. And that feels like star family. That doesn't feel negative. That feels like visitations to try and remember, keep you in that state of remembrance. So it might be flashes back of those experiences that seemed weird or strange or anomalous coming back, or starting to have new experiences. So we have contactee, you've made direct contact or had direct contact by different dimensional, interdimensional beings. And then we have UFO classroom. You participate in learning on board craft. Whether you remember or not, pay close attention to the information that drops through as you're upon waking, because you may have been studying and learning different lessons. And then we have Heal the Planet. Like the Michael Jackson song Heal the World comes in, and that always makes me want to tear up and cry. But you've experienced your experience. Sorry, let me start that again. Your experience guides you to help the earth. So it's like reawakening your soul memory, your mission, what you're here to do. It's time. It's time. And that wake up call, that remembrance feels like it's in progress. That it's coming online, and it's beautiful. It's nothing to be fearful of. Although your human might feel out of its depth if it's something that you haven't experienced for a long time, seek out support or someone that can really hold your hand through that. But it feels very positive. It feels very benevolent. It feels very empowering. But it may feel overwhelming too, of like, well, I have all this information. Like, what do I do? What are my next steps? So if that's the case, connect with me or connect with someone like me that might be able to help hold your hand through that process. But I'm going to wrap that up there. I'm going to move on to the next one. But please, I'd love to connect with you in some capacity. All the details are in the description box of all the offerings throughout this month and beyond. And just thank you so much for being here. And we'll move into the next one. So let's move on to B, shall we? So if you've chosen this piece of art, this one here, I'm going to go into the intuitive insight guidance. First thing I want to do is take a huge deep breath. A lot of decompression and releasing out through the central mainframe energy channel. Feels like an unraveling that's taking place or occurring within you right now. You may be really sensitive to it. You may be aware of it. You may be extra sensitive or extra tired of late. There's a lot happening in your energetic system, is what I want to say straight off the bat. The big shifts, there's big changes that may not be necessarily apparent in your personal life. Just yet, but they will become a lot more apparent as this month progresses. I feel like there's a lot of focus in and around physical health too. There may be for some of you like some sort of weird anomaly or health scare, but it's not the worst case scenario, or it's not what you think it is. It's actually quite manageable or quite easily fixed through lifestyle or dietary changes. There's a crossover point. Your body is evolving. Frequencies coming in are creating physical changes in your body's evolution. Okay. A lot of, I think this Aquarius season is going to do a lot for you in the words defragmenting a lot of mental simulations or programs. actually, there's a lot of, yeah, it's a lot of scattered energy. When I look into, if I was to read like an energetic field, as there's a lot of lines, a lot of energetic entanglement, energies that are trying to disentangle themselves. I also feel like this is someone who's trying to remove themselves from a situation. Could be a family dynamic or a friendship or a work, but it's like trying to pull out of like come out of a certain situation that feels very entangled or has done. So things might not feel very clear right now. It's like you may be at crossroads of like, I know something has to change, but I don't know what that looks like just yet. Um, it doesn't feel like the clarity has come, but it is on its way. We have the Seven of Swords. And that's where I was like, a lot of the mind stuff is trying to reorient itself, correct itself, relieve itself, release itself. And there's the sign of Aquarius right at the bottom. So it was like, yeah, during the Aquarius energy, a lot of those lines and energy, it's like the sword energy, the mind, the mental is trying to be unplugged or released or pulled out, but it's like it's been a bit of a chaotic mess. And it may have been over the Christmas period, like the holiday season, there might have been a lot of family stuff playing out, and it's like you're trying to defragment or it's been really revealing perhaps, and it's like, oh, I can't sort of play in that surface anymore. I need to remove myself, even if it's energetically. I've got to like place the focus back on me because whatever's coming feels quite important, and I put my focus on my stomach. So we've got Mars, Venus, Sun, Jupiter, Moon. We've got all the planets. Oh, there's a lot going on in this, but we've got a quarter moon. We've got what's that? That's a one, two, three, four. Oh, okay, it's a six-pointed star, but in a very different way. Or is it eight? Sorry, two, four, six. Seven. Oh, it's a seven-pointed star. Okay, interesting. See what comes through for you. But it's like this just feels like breaking through the noise, the static, the mental body feels like it's overloaded or overwhelmed a little bit. But it's really kind of cool because we've got some other cards that are pushing through. And I want to give that more focus and attention of like what it is that you're moving or working towards or moving out of to walk into that's not clear to you yet. But I feel like the clarity is coming through this Aquarius season. So pay attention to it feels also like it's really important for you to take some time for yourself out into nature, find a space or a place that's like perfect for you just to sit, to be in like harmonization, to find that stillness and peace and clear out the mind chatter because it's like the clarity and the solutions want to come directly to you. And it's like while you're in maybe your regular environment, it can't. So it's like you need to just step out of it. And whether that's just stepping out of the house and going into, sitting on the front or the backyard or going to a local park, it's like, yeah, just really simple stuff. And just allowing yourself to like sit or be bare feet on the earth if possible, and just to allow that stillness to regulate your body, your nervous system, and allow the clarity to come through because we've got the Eight of Wands, which feels like a very electrifying and activating type of influence that wants to move through you. This feels like a soul activation alignment. When I look at it, it's like that spark of consciousness and light that you hold and reside within you that wants to give you not only the solution, but the next part of the path forward. This feels like a business opportunity. I'm not going to lie, it feels like a project or an opportunity that you're being pushed or urged to create space for in your life, because I don't think it's going to land in February. I feel like it's coming down the pipeline, but it's like you're energetically being prepared and realigned for whatever this activation and new opportunity that is wanting to make itself known to you is coming through. And I think that that's a real big game changer. I don't know what it is, but we also have the Lovers card. Again, we have the Lovers card here. This could be a change in domestic situation or environments. And that can mean many things, you know. It can mean a reset of the balance and the dynamics, putting new conversations in play. It could be to the extreme, you know, if you're in a relationship that hasn't been serving or supporting either, it could be, you know, the final parting of ways to really, and in honorable ways too, to honor each individual and like not to have any malice intention, but it's like this is just not working. Like we've tried, we've given it our best shot. Sometimes, you know, not all relationships are meant to be happily ever after. They come in for a purpose, they come in for a reason, they come to help install wisdom, soul wisdom, the Hierophant, to allow us to work through entanglements and lessons that we've brought in from other places and spaces and lifetimes. That's going to get our soul growth into order and alignment to become the best version of ourselves. And unfortunately, in 3D dynamics, you know, we have this program of the fairy tale, which I do believe is possible too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not tainted in that way. But sometimes we get so hung on to what we know is coming for us, but we can place it, that overlay, on the wrong relationship, and we stay. And I've been guilty of this too. Sometimes we stay unnecessarily too long. You know, we know deep down like things are going to change. That may or may not apply. I went off on a tangent there, but what is happening is there is a solid foundation that wants to come through. It's like building the framework of the new life, the new version of yourself, and what you want to create in your castle. You know, what are you building that you want to be very protective of what you invite into that space? That feels quite important. Because I want to say that whatever has been just hasn't been working, or there's a refinement that is an overhaul. And a lot of it stems from the mind, because we've got the Eight of Swords, we've got another sword, a lot of mental energy here. A lot of it stems from the mind virus. I would say, or I would highly recommend to do energy work or processes or guided energy sessions. You know, you can find them on my resources on the website or YouTube or various other places to re-sync your hemispheres of your brain, like to clear out that mental space so that you can be a conductor, or you know, refine the space where your spiritual antennas of the consciousness of the high self wants to speak directly to you, to help guide you and navigate you through what you're going through and how to get to where you're being moved to, essentially. Yeah, I feel this energy of corroboration, collaboration. I feel like, hang on, I'm going to pick up from this deck too. Yeah, Ten of Swords, healing, the grand finale of a painful cycle. Once again, a lot of mental conflict that you just don't need to carry anymore. So finding tools, techniques, resources, helpful people that will help promote or support you, that are going to help really support you dropping out of being able to trust the intelligence of your intuition and your body and getting out of the negative ego mind loop, even if it's just a little bit, varying degrees for, oh my God. Even if it's just a little bit, and really take on or take into account the intuitive hits and nudges that are pushing you forward to do what may be spontaneous things, take chances, do things that may be out of the norm for you, because that's where you open yourself up to being in the divine flow. But yeah, allowing yourself to retrain to listen to your body's intelligence and the intuition and your own internal wisdom, because there's so much wisdom there. So we have the Emperor coming forward and through. So this could be you, or it could be an influence around you, but it's a divine masculine, strong influence in power, in control, really taking charge, just being in that grounded space. And we also have the Ace of Cups, the new love energy flowing. And so that feels like, however that looks or lands, it feels like an injection of new creative life force energy, like coming into you, to meet you, to greet you, to work with you, to give you life, whether that's through a new connection, a relationship, a romantic interest, a friend. It could be even, an animal companion, but it's like it's bringing a new lease of life in. It's like a breath of fresh air. It's creating flow and harmony back into, it's giving you a renewed sense of the version of you that you may have lost or forgotten temporarily, or even for a cycle or a period. But it's like coming back to the most authentic version of yourself and being able to reconnect and be in commune with that higher intelligence that is you. Whether you call it the divine, creator, higher self, God, universe, it's reconnecting with that. And that is going to be a complete game changer. Okay. Interesting. Ooh, we have a real mixed bag of cards that have come through. These are the ET experiencer cards that I just love to throw in. We have UFO sighting, we have hybrid program, we have ET spirit guide, and we have Alpha Draconian. So, yeah, okay, all right. Kind of is painting a bit of a new picture here. So you've encountered beings from Alpha, well, the Alpha Dracos. So don't have the greatest, they don't necessarily have the greatest reputation. And that could be connected to, and not necessarily, but to only take this if it resonates, but this could be connected to a lot of the mental, exacerbated mental energies, perhaps. There could be a lineage, a lifetime, a connection, a controlling energy, energy cord or thread. There may be some sort of draconian influence there that you're breaking away from. It could be, God, no, that was going to pop out. I was like, it could be influences in your life too. Not necessarily you, but people around you, and breaking away from that. So we also have the hybrid program. You are a genetic participant. Take this. This may not apply so literal to everyone. So for some, it could be literally recalling memories of having sort of genetic material utilized in programs in its most blunt, you know, matter of fact translation of interpretation. I think we all are hybrids to varying degrees, if I'm completely honest, but not everyone has had hybrid program experiences. But if that doesn't resonate, it could be a reference to having very specific genetics that are very sought after, that are very precious, that are very light filled. You know, we're all, you know, a cosmic soup of super intelligence as human beings that come from the stars, that come from many advanced civilizations. And it's like a reminder to you that you hold that within you, you know, whether it's part of experiments and participation or whether it's just a reminder of your uniqueness in your DNA. So the two final cards that we'll wrap up with, we have ET Spirit Guide and UFO sightings. So seeing is believing, and you have one or more extraterrestrial guides. So I would say eyes on the sky for this month. Look for the anomalies, because the consciousness of being an active witness to a sighting can change and transform your life in an instant. Often it can be aspects of us on light ships that are trying to wake us up and remind us of our mission, our purpose. So when we talk about ET spirit guides, yes, it could be a guide that comes in form of a galactic or cosmic influence, but it could be an aspect of us that's trying to integrate and merge into our consciousness. So that's that part of that purification that I was referring to earlier, that, you know, allowing yourself to be that conduit to listen to the guidance and the wisdom that wants to come through you. So I hope that that helps. Of course, if you need additional support, all the details to what I'm offering for this month will be in the description box below, and I would love to connect and support you. If not, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next video. All right, let's wrap that one up, and we're going to move along to the final lucky last card, or artwork, I should say. Artwork C. So if you've chosen this one here, we're going to go into, just going to clear the energy of that last one, and we're going to, there's often so much energy comes through me when I'm doing these videos and doing these intuitive guidance. And it's like, oh, I just need to take a breath. All right, so let's get started into the final group C, and see what February has in store for you. Let's get an energy read. All right, the words moving through transition come up. It's interesting. I see a basketball, sports, something about sports or interests. That, let's broaden that, because basketball or sports is quite specific. But yeah, no, there's something about sports. I see American football. It's very random. And generally the message could be like getting back into physical recreational activities that bring you joy and get your body moving again. But, you know, the basketball and the football may be more specific to some of you. Yeah, it's a gridiron. Isn't the Super Bowl in February? I'm not sure. It's not something I don't, I'm not someone that pays attention to sporting events. I used to in my old life, but not these days. So it comes and goes. Global events come up. Something about pulling your energy and focus out of don't get sucked into the external world or the global events that is pulling your focus and attention away in a negative way, in a negative sense. Like, just be mindful of that. I'm fighting something here. I'm really fighting something here. Oh, bugger it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say there's a metaphor because it's in my mind and I know it's not gonna go away until I speak it out. Years ago, I had a download. I was in absolute horror because I have remote viewed a timeline. Now, I don't necessarily believe that this timeline that I'm going to share with you is going to happen verbatim. And I'm hoping that it's a timeline that is collapsed and closed, but who knows? I was shown what was called to me as a deprogramming event. So as I share this, I know I'm in a personal reading, so you might take it as micro macro. What I'm going to describe is on a global scale, but it might be also a very personal experience for you. What was shown to me or called to me was a deprogramming event. And what I saw was a sporting event like the just said it before, the football. I can't remember the halftime entertainment, but I was seeing like a sporting event or a global event that a lot of people watch, and it was in the middle of that there was a thing that came from the sky that looked like a devil, a stereotypical red devil. It was a hologram projection, it wasn't real. But it looked so real that people believed that it was. And everyone who watched it had a bit of a shock response to it. And it looked on the outside like a horrific event, like all of a sudden, how they prophesize like the returning of Christ, like floating in on a cloud. It was kind of like, in a way, it was kind of like that, but it was like the complete inversion. It's like literally this devil character like floating in, and everyone was in shock and horror and had like visceral reaction to the energy of what they were seeing because it was grotesque or it was unbelievable. And what it was called or how it was depicted to me was it's a deprogramming event. It's literally what looks horrific on that external outside is literally triggering an unraveling of the matrix energies, an unraveling of the programming or the inverted frequencies that have been embedded in the entire population. And so the reaction that people would have would make them physically ill and probably emotionally quite distressed. And it would last for approximately 2 or 3 days. And it was likened to about a bad bout of food poisoning. But in the process of the physical release or purge, it would literally be releasing a lot of the matrix energies and codes. So after that event, the deprogramming event, there would be a few days of purification and coming out of that in like a totally new, refined person. I don't know why I was so pushed to say that, and I'm certainly not predicting that occurring. Use it as a metaphor that there could be, a global, I mean, we have events all the time, but there could be a global deprogramming event, or it could be a deprogramming event that is lined up to take place in your life. So it might be, and I've just moved through this, and I know several people have moved through it at the end of January, where something comes in that seems quite shocking, feels quite rattling, disruptive even. And then there's this like 2 to 3 day process of moving through this intensive clearing passageway. That might feel like a mini dark night of the soul, but it's actually really purposeful and in it's very purposeful and intentional to get you to where you need to be in regards to um, reclaiming your soul blueprint, reclaiming your sovereignty, reminding yourself how strong you are, getting clear on where you're headed and what your path and purpose is, removing some of the external or excess layers or internal layers that have held you locked into stagnation, deceit, even betrayal. Just because the Three of Swords just popped out. Oh, 10 of Swords. Oh, Death card. Okay. I actually they popped out before and I put them. They popped out before and I put them back in and kept shuffling and they've come out again. So the 10 of Swords and the Death card. So it's a real death and rebirth energy. But I don't want you to be fearful or like feel scared about it. It's actually a really, really good thing. Like it's actually moving you into where your heart's desires, and you may not even know that. There's a higher soul intelligence that is overseeing and guiding this process, and you are not in danger or in harm's way in any way. This is literally like taking you out of one space and into the next or into another. Yeah, it is. So, okay. So there is at Eight of Wands, there's an activation, a soul activation event. So it could be preceded by having a very heightened spiritual encounter or moment, experience that might go on for 24 hours. But there's some, or it could happen via like waking up or while you're sleeping. But it feels like there's a spark of light, of emanation that wants to come in. And through that process, however it looks, there is an unraveling of heavy energies, mental and emotional, that can feel like heartbreak, betrayal, loss, abandonment, deceit, unfair, unjust, revealing. That's going to allow an aspect of you to go through a death and rebirth, a metamorphosis, to reposition you to like this new timeline or trajectory. It's like a full-blown timeline jump experience. And it's not, it's probably the internal process that's more intensive than what's actually taking place on it. So it could be like a minute, in the grand scheme of things, a minute thing that it could be a phone call, a conversation, or something that comes out of the blue, or something that doesn't go your way, that then creates this whole experience that essentially gets you more on focus with passion, purpose, and drive. Clearly that card doesn't want to be seen. Yeah, but it's an adjustment. It's rebalancing the scales because things were out of balance and alignment. It's coming back into the readjustment, the rebalancing. That's the adjustment card is the version of the judgment card in the traditional tarot. It's realignment, rebalancing things that you may have given too much into, invested too much of your energy. It's being course corrected, essentially, redirected. It's funny, I keep getting, like, when I look at the word adjustment, I keep thinking the Adjustment Bureau, that movie. I think that's probably one of the most accurate depictions of reality. I've talked about the experience that I had being shown my soul's blueprint being blue lines and like all the different timelines, and that's the soul trajectory. And if you go outside of that, you go in the red zone, and if that occurs, you always get like rerouted back in. I think that's part of maybe this message is a redirect back into the soul's path. If you strayed a little bit or been, pulled off your path for whatever reason, and there's no judgment to that. We all go through it, but it's like, yeah, it's a readjustment. Okay, doesn't seem like any more cards from that deck want to come out. Taking a stand, Seven of Wands, and the High Priestess. Feminine influence, internal guidance. It feels like a bit of a walk-in of your own self-consciousness. It's like taking a stand. It's like one version of you, one version of you taking a leap of faith, taking a stand and walking the bridge of uncertainty temporarily to become a new version of embodiment. Yes, it's feminine energy, but that feels like, soul incorporation or embodiment. Yeah, wisdom of experience, Six of Wands. Six and Seven of Wands. It feels like a full internal overhaul happening. The energy of it feels quite intense, but it's like, it's very, very benevolent. I've got Three of Cups. Celebration. Remember, there is a celebration and there's silver lining and light at the tunnel. And it's like being put through the paces quite quickly and rapidly because there's stuff coming down the pipeline that you can't see yet or can't see fully. So take the time of personal inventory, take the time of rest and reflection and inner contemplation. Clear the monkey mind and sit and be still because you're preparing for this great change, for the Wheel of Fortune change, action, forward momentum, energy. So, the post that I wrote just recently in the last couple of days of, the breakdown before the breakthrough type energy. But it's like, I feel like you've mastered so much you've mastered so much that you can move through this with quite a conscious awareness, where the old version of you might have been in complete chaos or turmoil. Got Orion. You've encountered beings from Orion. Maybe you're clearing some Orion trauma. We all have that. I think that's part of the Earth blueprint of what we're cleaning up, the Orion wars. Not to say that all Orion's bad, absolutely not, but there's a lot of karma reconciliation that's happening from those who've been caught in those lifetimes and timelines of the galactic wars. That's being cleaned up. So it might be whatever's happening down here in this circumstance or situation or event that I'm describing could be a ripple of cleaning up an old timeline or past incarnation timeline, balancing the scales. Family connection. ET experiences run in your family lineage. So interesting. Yeah. And that could be family or soul family, but maybe this is giving you a greater discovery of your cosmic or galactic heritage. We've got childhood contact. We have Arcturus again. Oh my God. Okay. We have childhood contact. You've been visited since childhood. And it's come directly out with Arcturus. You've encountered beings from Arcturus. So that's a very benevolent frequency of transformation. But yeah, it definitely feels like something from soul lineage coming up through this transformation and metamorphosis that you're either undergoing or going through that's really pulling. So remember literally very similar cards that have come out again. So you might even want to watch all of them. We've got UFO sighting, we've got hybrid program. Remember, there is great benevolence to what is occurring. Don't see it through the lens of victimhood. This is actually, getting you to where you need to be. And don't, if you're feeling lost or confused, like go out and look at the stars, go and look at the sky, ask for guidance, ask for support, ask for contacts from benevolence, from aspects of you. Going through this upgrade might feel extreme at times, but it's making you remember. And I won't go into that card too much. It doesn't feel as relevant for now, but the hybrid programs and just, as I said in the last video with that card, it might be literal and you might have memories coming back around that or discover influences or aspects around that. But it also could be, it's just the importance of your own genetics and DNA that you're starting to understand at a deeper level. All right, I want to wrap it up just with one last. Okay, technology. You've witnessed or used ET technology. I would say if you're connected to Arcturians in any capacity or any benevolent, well, any ETs, there's a lot of high technology. So I can't remember, was this one or the last one I talked about the health thing. If you're going through a period of trying to retain energy, alignment, life force energy, health, and wellness, ask to be put into an energetic frequency med bed overnight. I've been doing this for years, and honestly, it's like day and night. You go to bed feeling under the weather, you wake up feeling recharged. Like there is a lot of frequency technology that we can get access to if we just ask those cosmic aspects of ourselves or the beings that we're connected with. So that might be something worth exploring, or it could be different types of planetary. Sorry, I've just I opened it up and it was like heal the planet multidimensionality. I'm getting distracted. And then we also have soulmate. Your soulmate is from the stars. You are special and unique. I mean, I feel like these cards are really, really speaking. There's a lot happening in this reading. There's a lot of components being worked through in your life, but I just want to say get excited about, even though it may at times feel scary or uncomfortable or, chaotic or confusing, there's great benevolence and love here for you. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. If you need assistance and support, I would love to connect with you. All the details for all the events and the different services and offerings that I have available at the moment will be in the description box below. And if this is where we part ways for now, I look forward. That was premature. I look forward to connecting with you in my next video, and much love to everyone, and have an incredible, incredible February. Mwah! Much love. Bye.